All right, so right now we're going to do the, I guess that's the correct audio now that things are the way they are. See if I can adjust. Doesn't look like, yeah, who knows? Maybe that works, but here we are. All right, so we're going to start with Smokestack today, and there's two ways to do this. There's sort of the way that the given dimensions are provided, and that's going to be to do a revolve by drawing just like the right half of this sketch and revolving it around the center axis. And the other way is to sort of interpret or infer these dimensions and do like an extrusion, a loft, and then an angled extrusion, which is a little bit trickier. It's easier if you know what you're doing, but it's significantly harder if you have trouble following along. So let's just do it the sort of expected way first. And let's go ahead and start a new part file of default settings. And the way this is going to work is we are actually going to ignore these. These are the two holes. And there's two holes here. There's one wide hole that's pretty shallow. And then there's this narrow hole that's a lot deeper. And that's what these dimensions refer to. We're going to ignore those until we do our revolve and have something to cut into. So our sketch is just going to be a vertical line, the total height, a horizontal line, half of this dimension, because remember, when it gets revolved, it gets doubled in size. So we need to make that half. Then a little vertical line, a slanted line. That's a little tricky because we need to find this point, then another slanted line and connect over. And once we have this closed loop, we can revolve it and create the main block, and then two circle cut extrusions will do the rest. So we'll start a sketch. XY plane works fine for this. We're going to do a vertical line that goes straight up. And the dimension of this is going to be our total height, which is 1.75 from the top. So we'll dimension this to 1.75. Then we have a line that goes out here across the bottom. And the diameter of the bottom is 0.5 all the way across. So that means our distance from the center is 0.25. That's the length of our line. And then the next vertical line is also 0.25. We can do both those at the same time. So this is 0.25. And then a vertical line here that's 0.25. And this next line is kind of tricky because we don't know where it ends. We know where this incline slope line starts. We know for a fact based on that horizontal vertical line, but this point out here, we don't know where it is yet, but we're going to make the line anyway and then dimension the end of the point. So we're going to make a line that snaps to right here and goes up somewhere in the right area, right click done. We know that this point right here that we're going for is 1.5 off the ground. And the distance at its widest point is 1.25, which means our distance from the center to this point is half of that, which you can actually type in 1.25 divided by 2. But first, we're going to mention the distance from the end point of this line to the bottom of everything as 1.5. Then we're going to dimension the distance from this end point to our center as 1.25/2, 0.625. Then we have a line that goes up this way. And all we know about it is that it goes up at an angle 15 degrees off of vertical. So we are actually just going to make a temporary line or just a guideline so that so that we can dimension 15 degrees off of it and draw this line. And once we do that, we can draw a horizontal line over that connects, because we don't have the distance. We don't have the size of this. All we know is that it's horizontal and it connects to this 15 degree off a vertical line. So let's go ahead and line tool. Like I said, we're just going to draw a vertical line to dimension off of. Make sure it snaps to vertical of about that length. Then we can draw another line, and actually we're going to get sort of a soft snap, which is perfect. We'll get a soft snap right there that lines up with this top point. Okay, and then we can dimension the angle between this line and this line. So this is another 3-click dimension. First click on the line, second click on our temporary line, and third click up here. Set it to 15, and actually it changed that, but that's fine. And now the last line of the loop, it just connects straight over horizontal until it meets that line. And as long as it's horizontal and connects to that line, it doesn't matter the length. We don't have that dimension. And if you're ever not sure what you need to dimension, if you don't have the dimension in the drawing, it's not needed usually, unless there's a mistake. But now we have our closed loop. It says 2 dimensions needed, but that's only because they would float around if you drag them, but that's fine. We're going to finish sketch, revolve. It knows what loop we want to revolve. We just need to choose which axis. And in this case, it's our vertical one that we planned on, and hit OK. Now we have 2 holes to go through the middle. One of them is 0.375 diameter and 1.5 deep. That's the deep, narrow one. And the other one is 0.875 diameter. Remember, this symbol is diameter. 0.875 diameter and 0.375 deep. We're going to do the narrow, shallow one first, just because that gives us more area to do the wide one after. But it doesn't really matter. Both of those depth dimensions are dimensioned from this top surface. So we're going to go from here. We're going to make one circle that is 0.375. Finish sketch, extrude, choose that, switch it to cut, and the cut was 1.5. And then another sketch on top. And this one is 0.875. And we'll finish sketch, extrude, choose that, switch it to cut, and cut 0.375. And there you go. That is the smokestack done the way that's, I don't know if I want to say intended, but I will show you the shortcut / more advanced way. And it's about thinking about things as solids from the get-go rather than just a sketch and a revolve. So here, let's start at the bottom. We have a 0.5 circle, 0.5 diameter circle, and an extrusion 0.25. So that's the first part. So on a new, you don't have to do it both ways. I'm just showing you for the sake of learning. And because my first circle is sort of the footprint, I'm going to do it on XZ plane, but it doesn't really matter. So we have a circle that is 0.5 and finish sketch, extrude 0.25. Then the next part, this middle section, I'm going to do as a loft. I'm going to make a new work plane that is the height of this part right here. I'm going to draw a 1.25 circle and then loft the top of this surface to that circle. And so I'm going to do new work plane, offset from a plane, click on this, and the height of this plane is 1.5, but the plane that I'm offsetting from is already 0.25. So that leaves 1.25. Okay, so I have this new work plane. I'm going to start a sketch on that work plane. I need a circle that is the diameter of the widest part. Okay, we're not cutting in half because this is the full circle. Diameter is 1.25, and we'll finish sketch. And now we're going to loft this edge, this face of what we already have to this. And that is just like from part 7 of the green sheet where you're extruding essentially, but the sketch is changing from one to the other gradually. Okay, and then the last part, we need to extrude this last part, another 0.25, but it needs to cut in at 15 degrees. And there's another parameter for extrusion, and that's taper. And so in order to extrude this, I'm just going to put a sketch on there and finish sketch right away because that'll give me the circle to do it. I'm going to extrude. There's only one thing to choose. And where is it? Advanced properties? Yep, taper. We're going to say 15. Okay, apparently it's negative 15 so that it goes in under advanced properties. Our distance 0.25. Hit extrude, and that gets us to the same point. And then there's just the two circles and cuts. One is 0.375, finish sketch, cut extrude, cut 0.875, no wait, 1.5, right? Yeah. And then another sketch on top for the other circle. And you can't do both of these cut extrudes at the same time because they are different extrusion lengths. So this is 0.875 and finish sketch, extrude, choose that, switch it to cut and cut 0.375. Okay, so either of those ways work. If you can, and I would at this point turn off the visibility of this work plane. You don't really need it, but either of those ways work. You can see the second way was faster, but also more advanced. So to say easier is a complex concept, but that is it for Smokestack. And let's go ahead and on the same recording while we're here, let's do Wheel also. So Wheel has the same situation where the sketch is given to you, the drawing is given to you as sort of a cross section. This is called a section view that is implied that you're going to revolve. But there's another way, just like with Smokestack, there's another way to do it, inferring those dimensions. But well, let's just do it both ways. So the first way is we're going to do this cross section. We are going to ignore the hole in the middle for now because all of these dimensions are from the center of the wheel, but there's no material there. So we are going to revolve it as if it was solid, as if there was material there. And then once it's revolved, do a circle and a cut extrude, which the dimensions for the circle are on this drawing. Okay, there's a 0.28 circle through the middle. And these hubs and or the spokes, or really the holes between the spokes, we'll do after we revolve. And then there's also this nub that connects to the linkage arm, and we'll do that after we revolve. The key is this first sketch. And so the sketch has this line right here is 1 inch. Then there's an arc that's 0.125. Then it comes back this way. And there's actually these little fillets that are 0.0625 in radius, and TYP means typical, And that means this, and this are all fillets that are that radius. You can do a fillet in a sketch, but it really sort of makes things tricky. We're going to do the fillet as a part feature after the revolve. I'll show you sort of one of the things. But we need to break this down into smaller shapes. And once you get good at modeling things, you will start to see things as smaller components that you can build. We're going to make one rectangle that is 1 inch long. That's an ugly line. 1 inch long and 0.125 tall. I guess it's width and height. Then another rectangle that is this difference, 0.25 with the remainder, 0.125, and another one of the same size here. And then we'll put an arc here. Actually, we can do a circle to that same center point, and it will work out. Just follow along for now. I can understand that being difficult to visualize. And even though the sketch is sort of in this isometric view, I'm going to do it horizontally. And so building that, we need one rectangle that is 1 inch by 0.125. Then this vertical line here is going to be our line, our axis of revolution. And this building up this chunk that we're going to mostly cut away and fillet away actually goes here. We'll make this 0.25, which is this dimension here, this 0.25. And we need the same thing over here, starting snap to this corner. And let's dimension that. And I'm putting these actual dimensions in places that I know will be out of the way. And we need an arc here with a radius of 0.125, but that means we can just do a circle on the center point, and you can see how it sort of lines up that way. And so we need a circle from the center point here. Okay, and we're going to revolve it around this. So the fillet is, if we did 0.0625, we would be putting it here, 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 and here. But unless you're careful, it is easy to mess this up. Like right now, you can't really change dimensions of things. You'd have to like leave it perfectly in this form. You could do that, finish, sketch, and revolve, and you'd be done with that aspect. But the way we're going to do it, we're going to finish, sketch, revolve, choose everything, and revolve around this axis. Okay, and that gives us the main part. And we're going to do the part fillet, which is 0.0625. And there are 4 edges to click: this one, this one, this one, and this one. And that effectively does the exact same thing as doing it in the sketch, but there's less ways to screw it up this way. Okay, so let's go ahead and take care of the hole that goes through the middle. And the hole goes through the middle is just a 0.28 diameter hole that goes all the way through. So we're just going to start a sketch. I'm going to do it on the back just because there's going to be less interference with the curves. So we'll do a circle. We want to make it 0.28. Finish sketch, extrude, choose this, switch it to cut, and cut all. There you go. There's that. Fantastic. There's 2 other features. I should say part features. There's this nub, and there is these spokes or spoke holes. The way we're going to do the spoke holes is we're actually going to use circles once again, circles are generally easier to work with because there'll always be closed loops, but we only need to make one of these, and then we're going to do a circular pattern and pattern it 6 times. So that makes it a lot easier. The inner arc is a radius of 0.375. So if we're using a circle, we need to double that. And the outer arc is a radius of 0.625 measured from the center point. And if we use a circle, we're going to double it. Then we're just going to close it off with lines. And there's a trick to getting it to actually be a closed loop. I'm going to start the sketch on the back. Again, there's less lines going on. And so I'm going to make the inner arc by making a circle that is 0.375 times 2. And then the outer one is 0.625 times 2, because they give us a radius, but we want diameter. Then the shape is just a line that goes, and I'm going to get these dimensions out of the way. Because they're going to look like actual lines. So we just need lines that connect this arc, the inside arc to the outside arc in one of these locations, and then close it off and cut extrude the whole thing. The first line is 15 degrees off of horizontal. And the reason why you have to make this first one off of horizontal is that you need this portion right here to be a spoke, not a hole, in order for you to have something to put this nub on. So the first one does have to be offset. It still ends up being 30 degrees between, just like it says TYP. So we need one, let's just get a horizontal line that we can dimension off of. Let's just snap a horizontal line somewhere like that. Then another line from the center to the outside of our small circle. Did I miss that? The larger of our 2 circles. And let's dimension that angle to our temporary horizontal. Let's just get it out of the way. 15 degrees. And the other line is 30 degrees off of the second one, off of that other line. So I want center to the outer circle, dimension the angle between that and our first line, or I guess second line, make that 30 degrees. So now our only goal is to cut out this shape, and we can then pattern it. The problem is, depending on where you click and how you click, it may not let you choose, it does let you choose the shape. There have been times in the past where it doesn't let you choose, in which case you actually have to go in and chop up the lines to force it to be a closed loop with trim. So I'd need to trim this and this and this. And as long as you don't move things around, it's fine. But if it does let you, if you can finish sketch and extrude just this one shape that we're working on, which let's put it in the same place. It is just this. Switch it to cut and cut all, hit OK. All right, we've got one, and now we're going to pattern. This is circular pattern. There's rectangular pattern. We want circular pattern. The feature we want to pattern is just this cut, which you can also select over here from the browser bar, extrusion 2. Our rotation axis is anything that's round. And the default is 6, and the default is all the way around 360. And there you go, hubs and spokes. And like I said, the last part feature is this nub. And the key is that there are, I think, 3 different extrusions that we need for this. We need one circle that's 0.25 in diameter, extruded 0.375. Then on top of that, there's a 0.125 circle, extruded 0.125. And on top of that, there's a 0.0625 circle that's cut in 0.25. The key, though, is the location of the first one. And the first one is 0.7 from the center of everything. Come on now. The first one is, the center point of the first one is 0.7 from the center, 0.7 from the center of everything. And the other key is that the first extrusion amount is from the surface of the spokes. So that's where we're going to put our sketch. We're going to put our sketch on the spokes here so that our extrusion is the number they give us. So we'll start a sketch on this surface right here. And we're going to get a line that goes from the center out. Now, very close to 0.7 is this edge of the ring of that fillet right there. If you make the line that length, the assembly won't work. It needs to be 0.7. And what you can do is on your keyboard, the F7 key is slice graphics. It should be F7, it used to be, yeah. And what that does is it lets you see inside of a sketch. If the sketch goes through material, you can see what's going on there. It hasn't deleted anything, it just lets you see it. And what we want is, back to sketching, a line that goes from the center. And I would almost put it just way out here, just so that it doesn't snap where it's not supposed to. And we could dimension this. This needs to be 0.7. And you can see it's slightly past where we get this auto projected circle, but that's fine. And this is where we're going to draw the first circle. The first circle is 0.25. You can see where it's pointing to, 0.25 in diameter and extruded 0.375. And let's go circle. First circle is 0.25 in diameter. And we're going to finish sketch. And we're going to extrude and make sure it chooses. Oh, no, is it not choosing everything? Oh, yeah, it does if you go there. And we want to extrude it. 0.375 was the distance. And then on top of that, we have another circle that's 0.125 in diameter, extruded another 0.125. All right, and then finish sketch, extrude, choose this, and extrude at a distance of 0.125. And then on top of that, we have the hole, which is diameter 0.625 and cut extrude 0.25. So we're going to put a sketch there and a circle on top, 0.0625. And which it rounds. I'm not sure if it's actually rounding or just rounding in the display, which actually we could probably check if you click on it. And yeah, it's just rounding in the display. It's actually still that, but it doesn't matter for our sake. And so we're going to finish sketch, extrude, choose the inner circle, switch it to cut extrude, and we want to cut 0.25. And there is wheel. The other way, sort of the shortcut way. Nah, it's not critical. It's actually not that much of a shortcut. Okay, so there are the two things there. All right, good luck.